Hello everyone and welcome to another What I Think review, and today we're going to be looking at the new History of the Daleks set number 18, and this is from Resurrection of the Daleks. These have started to appear in B&Ms now along with the Davros. I don't have Davros yet, I'm still trying to track him down, but I did manage to pick up both variants of this particular set, and that is why I have obviously one boxed and one open, because obviously I know some people might not be aware of the variant, so I do want to just address this first of all, because I'm only going to review the ones that are obviously out of the box. I've obviously decided to keep the variant one box, but it gives me an opportunity to have them both on screen. So the variant in this one is, one of them, as you can see on this Dalek, has just plain grey on the slats, whereas this one, which is the variant, or a variant, has a bit of silver on the slats, as you can see. Now, I stress to add at this point, although I'm referring to this one as the variant, technically they're both variants, and contrary to what I've seen some people saying online, one of these is not more rare or common than the others. I asked Al-Jawar directly, and he has confirmed that the variation between these, i.e. ones without the silver and ones with the silver, is a 50-50 split of this production. The silver one, or the non-silver one, it's not a chase variant, it's not sort of every 1 in 3, it is literally half and half, so it is fully dependent on what you can find in your stores. There is exactly the same amount of numbers of production for both of them. One of them is not more rarer than the other. I want to really stress that. The reason that I've decided to keep this silver variant boxed is purely my own personal preference. When I went to go and get these in my local B&M, they had one of the silver variants and they had 3 of the non-silver ones. So obviously, in my own mind, it's sort of, that was the rarer option in my store, so I've decided to keep that one boxed. And I actually think it looks a bit nicer boxed to have the one with a little bit more silver detailing on there as well. But again, there is no rarer version. They are both equally as common or rare as each other. So in terms of the box, we're pretty much the usual standard here of the clamshell packaging, which I'm going to come back to in a minute, but obviously as we turn it round, we've got information about the Daleks, you know, and information about the story and everything on the back as well. It's always nice to see all of that, but I want to just come back again. I know I've said this before, but I am going to bring it up again because I believe that the Davros figure is in the same type of packaging, is that they're still using this bubble sort of packaging, whereas obviously like the more recent TARDIS variants we've had, such as the Fugitive TARDIS and the Ruins of Skaro you know, exclusive set we've had, and obviously with the newer sets coming out of Ruby and the 15th Doctor, which has obviously been revealed recently but isn't out until at the time of recording next week, they are obviously using going back to using sort of the figures fixed inside the box with the clear front plastic. And this is something which I've been quite vocal about before, because I think the problem with doing it like this is, whilst they are secure in there, it does make them difficult to get in and out of the box without ruining the backdrop. And obviously my way of doing it is to cut along the back of the box and create a flap to open it, which again I'm going to obviously have to do with the Davros figure. But you know, the problem with the Davros figure's got one of those lovely backdrops in it again, and it means that you are going to have to cut into it to open it out, and it's going to, I don't want to say ruin it, but it is going to sort of detract a little bit from that. So you know, I am hoping as we go forward with newer figures that we are going to once again sort of see the just plain bit of plastic with the figures fixed inside the box. Again, we don't have to have the specialist backdrops. They're always a nice extra to have, don't get me wrong. But, you know, I think it would be nicer to have them more easily retainable in the box for those people that perhaps want to open them and then put them back in the box, which obviously, again, you can do with the more sort of recent figures. But with these History of the Daleks sets, it is something which is, I don't want to use the word issue, but again, as a consumer who's paid for them, I do feel like it's something which it is worth bringing up. But let's get on to actually looking at the Daleks themselves. So here we have the Daleks out of the box, but as you can see as well in the middle, I've also got, now this variant is the Resurrection Dalek from the 50th anniversary Toys R Us double pack with the 5th Doctor. There's a reason this is in there, which I'm going to come back to. But in terms of the Daleks that we've actually got out of the set, obviously we've got the drone here and we've got the Supreme. They look absolutely fantastic. I love the sort of slight more gloss paintwork we've got on them. I like the fact as well that they've continued to use this sort of extra neck ring piece as well, which really does sort of make a difference. I don't actually have to say, I personally don't have really any real criticisms of these. I think they do look good. The only thing that I would say is that they have added weathering to the base of the Supreme, which does look a bit out of place. I think if that had been the same sort of gloss, or even just a matte plain black, that would have really sort of added it, put it off. But I've never actually managed to have one of these in my collection. You know, I always missed out on the original one, which has always been quite difficult to get hold of, and it's sort of one of those things again that I could do, you know, custom versions to get one, but I've always wanted an official one. So if, you know, a little bit of detailing on the base, which personally I could correct myself, I probably am going to, you know, it's a nice additional one to have. And I like also the little extra detailing. We've got a little bit of orange in the gun. It's the small details that that really do sort of look the part. And obviously they've got their you know, they've got their eye stalks as well, which is obviously, you know, the updated one with the sort of almost descending rings, as it were. The only other feature that personally I would have perhaps put on these is a reuse, albeit it would have been a slightly inaccurate reuse, I appreciate, but a reuse of the Planet of the Daleks opening domes, because obviously in the episode the domes do open, but they open to the front, whereas on the Planet figures they open to the back. But given the fact that the domes do open in the episode, I think that would have been a really good reuse of that part. You know, for the sake of just having a little bit of inaccuracy of it opening the wrong way, which I know some people out there would have really picked up on and made a huge fuss about. But do you know what? As an opening, a little opening extra, a little opening dome bit, I think that would have been really nice little extra feature to have. But that's, you know, that's just my personal opinion on that. But the reason that I've brought in the middle Dalek is because there has been a fair bit of discussion over the colour of these drones, because they do seem slightly more off. And I actually went back and I've re-watched Resurrection of the Daleks before this review, and I have to say neither of these is actually entirely accurate. I know more people sort of expect them to be closer to this colour, but I actually have to say, in terms of colour, they're closer to this new release than they are to this original release. And even in the Resurrection of the Daleks set, I don't, this is the only Resurrection Dalek official one I have, but even in the actual set, they're more sort of got this slightly more sort of bluish tint to them. But I have to say, I would actually say, and maybe I'm going to get disagreed with on this, I actually have to say that they are closer to the Genesis Renegade Grey than they are to either of these. Out of these two, this one is closer, the new version is closer, but it's still too light. This version is actually as great as it looks. As much as I love this colour, maybe it's me, I really cannot see that colour in the props in the episode. I can't see it. I can't see it. So yeah, I personally don't have any issues with the, you know, the updated colouring on this. Personally, I quite like it. I actually think it sort of makes them stand out a little bit more than any of the other ones. You know, we had the, obviously we also had the Destiny of the Daleks variants, were sort of a slightly more sort of greenish grey, which again, I know generated a little bit of controversy, but, you know, I personally think they look absolutely fine. You know, at the end of the day, these are still toys. You know, if you really want good collector's figures, then I think, you know, you should, well, I was going to say, you should get something else. Obviously, I appreciate there isn't anything else. I will retract that. That's not the best way to word it. But the point I'm making is, these are toys. They are not meant to be 100% inaccurate, because if they were 100% inaccurate, and I've said this before, if you were worried about 100% inaccuracy, you would be worried about having the seams here in the middle. You know, other little things like that, like the seam down the front here, or the fact that it's, you know, not got any, you know, hover bits on the base, it's got wheels instead. They're toys. They're not meant to be 100% inaccurate, and if it means we get a little bit of variation for the collectors who've perhaps collected the originals and want the original ones to stand out that little bit more, great. For the people that want to army build, I personally don't see the issue with them being a slightly inaccurate colouring, you know, and if you're really that bothered, you can repaint them. That's always fun to do. You know, I appreciate that is just my opinion. I appreciate that it's perhaps not going to be the most popular opinion, but it is something that I feel is worth pointing out, because I know there has been a fair bit of debate over the colouring of these particular new releases. You know, and I think it is an interesting point to point out that actually neither of these are highly accurate. And so that brings to a close another What I Think review. As always, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Like, favorite, subscribe, share, it really helps me out a lot. And be sure to description below for a link to my Patreon. I am still doing my figure animation. There is still an update coming on it in future, and on my channel in general in the new year. But for the meantime, all of your donations are greatly received, and for the smallest donation, you can get your name at the end of my videos. I salute you all, and I will see you with another video very soon.